All right, we are live in beautiful sunny Florida, and today, fight fans, we're going to be breaking down UFC Fight Night 117 in Saitama, Japan. OSP versus Yushin Okami in the main event. Obviously, not the best main event in the world, but you know what? Love this card from a fan perspective. Love it from a betting perspective. Isn't exactly stacked by any means, but man, this card has fun matchups written all over. I'm expecting a beautiful night of mixed martial arts ahead of us. Friday night this week. I guess that's just because of the fact that it's in Japan, but nonetheless, I'm excited for a nice Friday night of fights. I think we got Bellator on Saturday as well. I think that's Saturday night. Got a couple bets for Bellator, and of course, you already know I do have a few for this UFC fight night. Like I said, love it from a betting perspective, man. I think there's all kinds of opportunity here. But first things first, actually want to not going to get into too much detail with you guys, but I do have some seriously amazing stuff planned for this channel. Couple things actually. First is just going to be from a production standpoint from my channel. I do plan on enhancing the production of my channel, my brand, a lot here in the near future. So exciting stuff there. And secondly, I do have something really fun in the works when it comes to a kind of like a new series on my channel here. Of course, MMA betting related series, of course. And if you guys are watching live, hit me up in that live chat. Definitely down to talk with you guys as much as I can while I'm not rambling about these fights. But yeah, man, two really amazing things planned out for my channel in the near future. As always, going to be talking to you guys about my bets, betting perspective, and of course, most importantly, the picks, man. I really like this card a lot. And we're going to, of course, break down the whole 11 fight card. It was supposed to be 12, but we had a pretty fun matchup canceled out last minute with, I shouldn't say last minute, it's been a week or two now, but Janelle Lauja versus Naoki Inoue. That should have been a very fun fight. Unfortunately, that got canceled. And as you guys know, Shogun recently pulled out, I think this past weekend during the last card. So he's fighting Yushin Okami now. And speaking of the last card, and got to mention it, I did walk away with a profit of 1.26 units. Of course, you can check out my bets at MMA.tips, MMAKelton. But let's just get right into this card, guys, because the first fight of the night is a banger, man. We got Daiichi Abe plus 105 taking on Hung Yu Lim minus 125. Now, Hung Yu Lim is a guy who hasn't had a win in I believe it's been about 2 years by now, right? His last win was September of 2014, so it's been 3 years since Hung Yu Lim has had a victory inside the octagon. Of course, his two fights since then was against Neil Magny and Mike Perry, for sure top 20 guys, maybe even top 15 guys. And of course, you got to count that he's not fighting a whole lot, but I think he's taken a proper amount of time off since the Mike Perry knockout. And he's coming in here against a guy who is unexperienced, to say the least. Just 5 fights on his record. I don't see an amateur record anywhere. And you look at the records of the guys he's fighting: 0-0, 16-22, 12-6, 15-12. Not the most impressive competition in the world. And one other thing about this guy, Daiichi Abe is probably one of the smaller welterweights you'll ever see, and Hung Yu Lim is probably one of the bigger welterweights you'll ever see. Basically, man, every time we see Hung Yu Lim go in there with a guy of this caliber, whether it's unexperienced, skill level just not that high, he usually goes in there and finishes them early, or Hung Yu Lim will get finished early. So I do. I like this fight to definitely not go the distance. Something told me to stay away from it. I mean, it's minus 410 anyway, so it's not really all that playable. But I do side with Hung Yu Lim, man. Like I said, he does usually beat guys like this. He's going to have a huge size advantage, experience advantage, and based on the tape, I think his technique is a little bit cleaner. Now, Daiichi does pack power, so that's what's keeping me away from betting Hung Yu Lim here. I did consider poking the prop of Hung Yu Lim wins in the distance at like plus 123, just because the guy has like a 95% finishing rate. Um, and I do pick him to finish this fight. So I got young Yulin here via a first-round KO, staying away from it from a betting perspective, but I do have Hung Yulin in my DraftKings lineup. I do like him here, man, and I do like him to get it done here early. So moving on here, man, this is one I'm pretty excited about. We got Luke Jumeau minus 245 taking on Shinzo Anzai plus 205. Luke Jumeau, I believe he's not New Zealand, is he? I'm pretty sure he's Australia. I mean, I don't want to say it's the same thing because that could be disrespectful to some people. So I'm going to look. He's from New Zealand. Okay. Yeah, Luke Jumeau came in there against Dom Steele in his last fight and came in as the underdog. And the dude came out and he wanted to fight, man. He put on a very good performance and kind of outclassed Dom Steele there in a little bit. And Dom Steele is not really a slouch of a fighter at all. I mean, most people by a good majority were picking Dom Steele in that fight. I saw a lot of people confident on him, and Luke Jumeau came in there on his UFC debut. I forget if it was short notice or not, but nonetheless, the UFC debut against a tough, experienced guy, and I think it was a 30-27. Either way, looked very impressive. So now you got Shinzo Anzai, who has not fought in a couple years now. And even when he was fighting, not the most impressive guy in the world. 2 UFC fights against Alberto Mina, which was pretty much just a slugfest till he got knocked out in the first round. And then against Roger Zapata, kind of took more of a wrestling approach. And then we know what happened in that fight. Just garbage fight. Roger Zapata and Shinzo Anzai shouldn't be in the UFC, man. So like I said, Shinzo Anzai, he's kind of a strange fighter. He either kind of likes to go in there and brawl and look to take the head off, or he's going to take a wrestling approach. And honestly, man, he's kind of like a poor man's Dom Steele, man. He's got power, he's got wrestling, but he's nowhere near as good as Dom Steele. He's nowhere near as athletic as Dom Steele. So I think this is a perfect matchup for Luke Jumeau, and I'm expecting an even better performance from Jumeau this time out. Last time out was his UFC debut, and now he's got his sophomore appearance here. And I think most of the time fighters will look a lot better in their sophomore appearance than they will in their first appearance. And Luke Jumeau, he's got a good head on him. I like this kid a lot. So I do have a couple plays on Luke Jumeau. I have him in a 1.5 unit 2-leg parlay with somebody later in the card. And I have Jumeau in a 1-unit parlay with Lorenz Larkin from Bellator. So I'm not going to really break down those Bellator fights. I do have a couple Bellator plays. One of them is the 1-unit parlay with Larkin and Jumeau. I got that at plus 101 to win 1.01 units. So just a small play there. And I do have him in the 1.5 unit parlay. So 2.5 on Jumeau, man. I'm pretty confident on him. So official prediction, I will say second round TKO. It's just going to be a little too much for him on the feet, I think. So moving on here, man. Women's bout that I didn't look a whole lot into. I don't think a lot of people did. We got Chan Mi-Jion minus 105, taking on Saori Kondo minus 115. So pretty much pick 'em odds here across the board. Jion, sophomore appearance here in the UFC, lost to JJ Aldrich in her last out, and Saori Kondo making her UFC debut. Basically, from tape, man, Chan Mi-Jion, she looked so green in her last fight. She's not UFC ready, in my opinion. JJ Aldrich was just a couple steps ahead throughout the whole fight. Saori Kondo, I think she can take a page out of JJ Aldrich's book. Saori Kondo is a very experienced kickboxer with a 13-1 record. She's very experienced in a lot of aspects of combat sports, man. And she's just the more grizzled veteran at this point. Probably has a lot more tricks in her sleeve. I'm going to go with the newcomer here, Saori Kondo. I think she outstrikes Jion here over the course of 3 rounds en route to a 30-27 decision, but across the board between DraftKings and betting, this fight is a pass for me. So moving on here, we got Ouka Sasaki plus 360 taking on Jussier Formiga minus 450. This is a good one, man. Probably one of the better fights on the card. Probably the second best in my opinion, man. I really like this card. We got two top 15 flyweights. Ouka Sasaki coming off that huge upset win over Justin Scoggins, getting dominated early, but then he was able to finish Scoggins. So props to him. I passed on that fight, thankfully. Question is, can Ouka Sasaki do it again? And is plus 360 a big enough number to find out? For me, it is, man. I took the 1 unit shot on Ouka Sasaki at plus 360 for a couple reasons. Juicy Formiga is a declining older fighter in a gym that has been struggling over the years, Novo União. Nonetheless, still very, very talented fighter, still can beat good guys. But Ouka Sasaki is a guy who came into the UFC at a very young age, looked a little green in the beginning. Now it seems like he has his feet under him. He's fighting at a weight class where he's probably the biggest guy in the weight class. The dude's huge. I don't know how he makes it, man. But I think this could be Ouka Sasaki's breakout party. I don't want to call the Scoggins win a breakout party, just because he was getting dominated. But I see a lot of people bring up that Scoggins fight from either a positive light for Ouka or a negative light for Ouka. I don't look at that fight too much, man. Honestly, I was more impressed with the Wilson Hayes fight, man. I thought he looked real good in the Wilson Hayes fight. In that third round, I mean, he dominated Wilson Hayes. And Wilson Hayes, he's a real high-level guy who I rate pretty much as equal as Juicy Formiga. Now, I will admit, I do think Juicy Formiga has the more refined, more technical skills on the feet. And he may even he's probably the better grappler than Ouka Sasaki. Ouka Sasaki is just a very awkward guy who is in his prime, who's getting better every day, who's huge for the weight class. I just think he can make for a very tough fight for Juicy Formiga. And when I see a line at like plus 360, man, I can't pass it up. So I am going to go with the underdog here, Ouka Sasaki. I think he gets it done somehow. I don't know if he gets it done by sub or decision. I really don't know. I have Ouka Sasaki in DraftKings because, of course, he's very cheap, $7,000, I think. So I am going to pray and pick for a finish. I think Ouka Sasaki is going to submit Juicy Formiga in the third round. I know that's a very, very hot take of a pick, but Ouka Sasaki, third round submission, 1 unit plus 360, and I do have them in DraftKings. So moving on here, man, we got Kaita Nakamura plus 120 taking on Alex Morono minus 140. This is a real interesting fight, and a fight I was very close to betting, but I ultimately decided to pass. I did think about taking the underdog price on Kaita at plus 120, but I ultimately passed because, man, I just see this being a very, very close split decision type fight. Alex Morono is a very tough guy, and I shouldn't even say that about just him. Kaita Nakamura is a very tough guy. This is a battle of very tough dudes. I'm expecting this as maybe a fight of the night type fight. I think these guys are going to slug it out for 3 rounds, mix up some grappling. I think we're going to see it all here. I don't think the world of either of these guys. I don't think they'll ever hit that top 20, but I think for what the matchup is, it was very well put together. I think we have an exciting fight in front of us. I see it going down as a split decision. That being said, I can't take either guy in DraftKings. I can't take either guy in a betting perspective. So big pass for me, but I'm very excited for this one. And I'm going to stick with my gut and go with the underdog here. I got Kaita Nakamura by, I'll say, a 29-28 split decision. So moving on here, we got Charles Boston Strong Rosa minus 190 taking on Mizuto Hirota plus 165. Now, this is pretty much exactly like the last fight for me in the terms that I really wanted to take the dog Mizuto Hirota at plus 165 because I see this being another very close split decision type fight, man. I think the line here is a little crazy on Charles Rosa. I'm not sure why. I don't entirely get it, just because he went to a split decision with Yair Rodriguez, I guess, just because he's a younger guy, I guess. I don't really see it because Mizuto Hirota can still hang in there with the very best guys. I mean, everyone picked him to get stomped by Alex Volkanovski in his last fight, and he did kind of get stomped, but he showed a lot of toughness, and he showed that he definitely belongs in the UFC, man. So Mizuto Hirota is a guy not to be messed with, man, and a guy not to be underestimated. I would be very careful parlaying Charles Rosa here, like I see a lot of people doing, but it's a tough one. I'm gonna go with the dog, Mizuto Hirota. I think the boxing is close. I think the grappling is close. I think it's just all so close. I really think the experience is going to work for Mizuto Hirota here. I think he has more tricks up his sleeve. I think he gets it done somehow. I'm not sure if he decides to outstrike Rosa, mix in takedowns. I don't know, man, but I've had a gut feeling on this fight since before it was announced, and I'm going to be really upset if he cashes and I don't bet it, but something's telling me to stay away just because it's, like I said, a close split decision type fight. So pass for me, but the pick is Hirota via a 29-28 split decision. So moving on here, we got Teruto Ishihara minus 155 taking on Rolando Dai plus 135. Didn't look into this fight all that much, man. Teruto Ishihara obviously cost me big last time against Gray Maynard, like he did with a lot of people. He let us all down, man. He couldn't beat Gray Maynard in 2017. That being said, Rolando Dai is not the best fighter in the world as well. So this fight's just a gigantic pass for me. I didn't even feel like looking into it. I remember doing tape for Dai in his last fight, not entirely impressed. Almost considered betting Bruce Leroy against him there, but decided to pass there as well. Big pass here. I guess my pick is going to be Teruto. I think Teruto gets it done. I mean, usually when he goes in there against these really low-level guys, he knocks them out. So probably with what he does here, I'll say second round TKO for Teruto here. Don't want to trust him, though, after that last fight. Gray Maynard probably laid out a blueprint, man. I think Rolando Dai going to have the grappling advantage here, and I think maybe he can go in there and utilize the grappling and take down Teruto Ishihara and take that route. We'll see, man. But my pick's Teruto via second round TKO. Passing, DraftKings, passing, betting. Moving on here, though, man, I'm so excited for this fight. I'm maybe not the best fight in the card, but this is easily what I'm looking forward to the most. We got Gokhan Saki minus 175 taking on Henrique de Silva plus 155. If you guys have been following me for a long time, I've always kind of like had like, I don't know what it is, maybe like a mini obsession with Frankenstein. I bet him in his first fight. I bet him in his second fight. That both cashed for me. And then Paul Craig, excuse me, he fights Paul Craig next, and I bet Paul Craig. So I have a very good record betting on Henrique de Silva fights. Who else did I Jordan Johnson. I parlayed up Jordan Johnson there. So I have unfortunately, I didn't take the easiest opportunity in any Henrique de Silva fight ever and didn't bet on Ion Cutelaba for some strange fucking reason. But man, I think it's the same outcome here, man. I think he's going against another great striker with huge knockout power. And I say another great striker, but Gokhan Saki is a little bit better of a striker than Ion Cutelaba. If you guys don't know, Gokhan Saki, one of the best kickboxers in the world. I don't even have the time to go through his resume of all the amazing kickboxers he's fought in his career. But the dude is a serious striker and automatically a top 3 striker in, if not the light heavyweight division, maybe even the UFC. The dude is elite. Is all elite. He's the elite of the elite when it comes to striking. Now the question is, has he been working on that wrestling? Has he been working on that jiu-jitsu? And I think Gokhan Saki is a very intelligent guy, and he wouldn't go in here into the UFC without the confidence that his wrestling and grappling can hold up, man. I think he's a smart guy. I know a lot of people have been sharing and talking about that clip of him grappling with Marloes Conan, but guys, that was like over a decade ago. That was like over a decade ago, and like a 20-second clip, man. I'm sure Gokhan Saki has been working on his wrestling and grappling. I don't think he's a stupid guy. I think he's got that. I think he's been working on those areas. when it comes to low fight IQ, Henrique Silva has some of the lowest there is. And I actually just saw an article MMA Junkie or MMA Fighting posted. Henrique Silva says he wants to go in there and strike with Gokhan and knock Gokhan out. I don't think that's a very wise choice for Henrique here. I think Henrique Silva is going to want to go in there for those takedowns, maybe pull guard, push Gokhan up against the cage, go for trips. This is just the blueprint is so clear for Henrique Silva. I don't know if he's being honest when he says that, but man, even if he does go in there and try to grapple and get it onto the ground with Gokhan, which probably he will, he may just be saying that. I'm not convinced that he can. He's no great wrestler. He's not even a great grappler, man. I mean, you look at the one guy he submitted, Joaquin Christensen, one of the worst fighters to ever grace the UFC octagon. So I think Gokhan Saki gets this done extremely early and extremely violently. I'll say a sub 1 minute KO for Gokhan Saki, and I do have Gokhan Saki in a 3-unit parlay. I do have 2 units on the under 1.5 rounds at minus 170. Gokhan, I got him in the 3-unit parlay at minus 160. And of course, I do have Gokhan Saki in DraftKings. So big on Saki here, big on the under 1.5 rounds. Under 1.5 rounds is actually a great play. Doesn't go to the distance, not quite as much at minus 610. Even the under 1.5 rounds is up to minus 200 now. I got it at minus 170. But yeah, I love Gokhan here, man. And speaking of another fighter I love here, I shouldn't say probably, he most certainly is my most confident pick on the card. We got Dong Hyun Kim, Maestro Dong Hyun Kim, minus 380, taking on Takanori Gomi, the Fireball Kid, plus 315. I don't know how to say this without being too disrespectful, but Takanori Gomi is, he's not only been done, I messed that up. He's not only done, he's been done for like 10 years now, man. Takanori Gomi is far past his prime, and we've seen these last few fights, man. He can't even last a few minutes with these guys, and this is a tough tie. Dong Hyun Kim is nowhere near the best guy that he's fought in recent years, but this is one of the more bad matchups for Takanori Gomi that he's had to deal with recently, man. Dong Hyun Kim is a guy that hits really hard, and we all know about Gomi's chin deteriorating, and he's a guy with a black belt in judo. He can get it onto the ground, and that's the biggest thing with Gomi. He's been struggling as soon as it hits the ground. So I think Dong Hyun Kim goes in there, lands a bomb on Gomi early, gets it to the ground, pounds him out. So I'll say Dong Hyun Kim, first round TKO. And guys, I went a little big on Dong Hyun Kim here. Of course, I have him in the DraftKings lineup. That pretty much goes without saying. I do have him in that 3-unit parlay with Gokhan Saki. So I got 3 units on Maestro parlayed with Gokhan at plus 123 to win 3.69 units. So the biggest play of the card for me, that 3-unit parlay. And then I also got him in a 2-unit parlay with somebody later in the card. So 5 units, a max play on Maestro Kim for me this card. Biggest play, biggest most confident pick, got him in DraftKings. All the stuff, man. Love Maestro here. So first round TKO is the pick. Now moving on to the co-main event of the evening, we got Claudia Gadelha minus 280 taking on Jessica Andrade plus 240. I really like Claudia Gadelha here, man. I do believe that she's probably the second best women's fighter in the entire world, man. So the way, like when I first started looking at this fight, I looked at it like this. We saw how badly Joanna Jędrzejczyk outclassed Jessica Andrade, made her look like she didn't belong. And then we saw Claudia Gadelha and Joanna Jędrzejczyk go life and death, very close fights with each other twice now. Honestly, man, this strawweight division is Joanna Jędrzejczyk, Claudia Gadelha, and then the rest, in my honest opinion. So it's funny, man. I actually lost on Gadelha in my last fight, in her last fight, I should say. I made a I shouldn't say I made a mistake. I mean, I guess I made a mistake if I lost the damn bet, but I was so confident just because I had like 3 units on Claudia Gadelha wins via decision over Carolina, just because Carolina, I don't. She hasn't been finished before, and Claudia Gadelha, she went in there and couldn't finish. What's that Finnish girl's name? Tina Latamaki. She couldn't finish her in 3 rounds. So I'm like, all right, Claudia's not going to go in there and finish Carolina, but she's going to beat her. So I went big on Claudia via decision. Of course, goes out there and beats her in the first round, which really shows how great of a fighter Claudia is and how, like I said, it's Joanna, Claudia, and the rest. So, man, I think Claudia Gadelha can piece up Jessica Andrade in the feet here. Obviously, Jessica Andrade has bombs, but Claudia Gadelha took all those bombs from Joanna Jędrzejczyk. She took the accumulation of shots from Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Claudia is a very durable fighter, so I'm not worried about her getting finished at all. I think eventually, if this fight stays on the feet, Claudia is going to eventually figure out Andrade's pretty basic come forward style and piece her up in the second and third round. And then if Claudia wants to go for those takedowns, I think she has a huge chance to land the takedowns, and I think she has a huge advantage on the ground. So I like Claudia wherever this fight goes, man. Pretty confident in her. I probably would have gone bigger if the price wasn't so high on her. I wasn't expecting it to be this high. I thought a lot of people were a lot higher on Jessica Andrade. I was hoping there would be a lot of Andrade bettors out there. There's not a whole lot. Shout out to UFC Pro Picks. I know he's betting Andrade. Justin's a silly guy, but I got Claudia here, man. I do have her in that 1.5 unit parlay with Luke Jumau. So I got Jumau, Gadelha, 1.5 units at plus 103 or plus 102. I think plus 103. So, yeah, man, 1.5 units in Gadelha and no DraftKings just because I don't see a finish here. I think she decisions Jessica Andrade, but after the last fight, I wouldn't be surprised. She went out there and subbed Carolina, and Andrade has been subbed before by not-so-great fighters like Raquel Pennington and Marion Renault, so who knows, man, but I got Gadelha decision here. Moving on to the main event of the evening. We got Ovince SaintPreux minus 490 taking on Yushin Okami plus 390. So Yushin Okami is back in the UFC and on very, very strange terms, man. So like I said in the beginning of the video, Shogun pulled out due to injury, I think last weekend, like during the last card. And they replaced him with Yushin Okami, a guy that has been fighting at 170 pounds for, I think, his last 3 or 4 fights, outside the UFC too, of course. Obviously, this is return to the UFC. I don't think he's been in the UFC since, like, UFC 160. Something like that. Maybe a little bit after that. But yeah, man, Yushin Okami is a guy who's very, very past his prime. Like I said, he's been fighting at 170 pounds, which probably isn't the best for him. He is a 185 pounder, but man, he's fighting at 205 here against Ovince SaintPreux, a guy who probably would not be able to make 185 pounds. So obviously, I saw the stare downs, and it didn't look like too big of a size difference, but I think come fight night in the cage, OSP is going to look like a massive human being compared to Yushin Okami. And that all being said, we know about the power in OSP's fist, man. I mean, we saw what he did to Shogun in their first fight. I think he puts down the old lion here in Yushin Okami, and I think he puts him down very early. I'm going to go with Yushin Okami via a first-round KO. I think the power is going to be too much. He's going to touch him up, get it done early. Not really sure what Yushin Okami's route to victory here is, man. I don't think he's going to be able to out-wrestle OSP. There's going to be way too big of a size difference. So I think Yushin Okami's really only shot here is to just come in like a wild motherfucker and swing and try to put OSP out, man, because OSP has been put out before. So it would surprise me if Yushin Okami knocked out OSP, but if Yushin wins, that's how he's going to win, in my opinion. He's going to knock out OSP. That all being said, of course, got OSP in DraftKings because, like I said, I got him in the first round. I do have 1 unit on the under 1.5 rounds because it's set at plus 155. So if I think the fight's ending in the first round, and I think either guy could get it done in the first round, that's an easy bet for me at plus 155 for the under there. And do have OSP in that 2-unit parlay with Maestro Kim. So 2 units on Maestro OSP at I think minus 153 to win 1.30 units there. So yeah, man, like OSP, 2 units on him with Jesus Maestro, and then I have 1 unit on the under at plus 155. Got him in DraftKings. So that's gonna do it for me, guys. Full 11 fight card. How long have I been going for on this bitch now? A little while, huh? All right. That's going to do it for me, guys. Very excited for this Friday night of fights. I hope you all cash your bets. I hope you all have a great night of fights. You can find me on Twitter at MMAKelton. Hit me up, talk fights with me. Comment below, tell me who you're betting on. Like the video, it takes just 2 seconds. And if you're not subscribed, definitely subscribe because like I said at the beginning of the video, just awesome stuff planned for the channel. Follow my bets at MMA or Bet MMA Tips / MMAKelton. Check out all my boys: Daniel Levy, Best Fight Picks; Will Martin, UFC Bro Picks. All those guys, man. Love them all. So, and I love all you guys. I appreciate all you guys in the live chat. I know I said at the beginning I'd be chatting with you guys, but I'm so busy rambling about these fights sometimes that I just completely forget. Oh my God, CIG MMA is in here. What is up, man? Come back to Twitter, my man. That's funny. Shout out to CIG MMA. That's the man right there. It's good to see you in the chat, man. I've not heard from you in a while. But that's going to do it for me, guys. Appreciate you all watching very much. CIG, hit me up somehow. I want to talk to you, man. But that's going to do it for me, guys. Enjoy the fights, and have a good one.